much for coming back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. I am doing great. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. And I am so grateful that you took the time of your day to spend some time with me just for a little bit. So also guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Also turn on that notification bell to make sure you get any new video alerts from me. Alright guys, so let's get started with this video. This video is actually talking about what do I do when I want to spend money. Deanna, a Instagram and YouTube friend here for a while now, she actually said, well, Hope, what do you do when you actually want it right now? What do you tell yourself? And I was like, I got you. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I may have to take my glasses off because I don't know if it's a glare. I know exactly how you feel or what you're saying. I actually think of these things all the time for a while now. And I also been talking about budget lately, guys, a whole lot. And I just want to know, or I wanted to kind of sit down with you guys and share, you know, what exactly, well, why is Hope talking about budget all of a sudden? Or, you know, I don't know. Maybe I always have. I don't know. But I know my mindset is like shifting and changing a little bit. So I just want to share with you guys right quick. Okay, so I have a list here so I can make sure I stay on topic and get to the point. 'Cause when I am trying to save money, the first thing that I need to do is set a budget. And I don't like the word budget. I feel like it's a bad word because you're draining me from doing anything. But that's not necessarily so with a budget. It's just setting a limit or setting aside a certain amount of money for different things. And you can also have like your play around money, your planning budget money, or your home decor budget, or your makeup or fashion, or your food budget, travel budget. So just setting aside a money here and there once you make your priorities, especially you pay your bills first and so forth. And I can't necessarily, guys, share like the rundown of our bills or our budget. That was just something that my husband, usually he, you know, I do something and he usually just goes with the flow with whatever, but he's like, oh, they can't know all my business. And he is also, you know, the head of the household. He's the breadwinner, so I respect that. Making sure that you pay your bills first, and then once you pay those bills and you know how much money you have extra for extra activities with your family, month for travel, to be able to do all those other extra leisure things once you pay your bills and get your needs out of the way. The next thing, guys, make a list while watching hauls and sticking to it. What I tend to do is I will live through others. So if I feel like I need to shop, I just want to see what's new out there in the Dollar Tree world, what's out there in the Target One Spot community right now, what's new in the home decor, what's coming up for the new season, whether it's Christmas, spring, fall. I want to see what's out there. So if I'm in a good headspace and I'm not feeling like, oh, if I'm gonna watch this haul, I know I'm gonna go out to the store, I know if I watch this it's gonna make me want to pick something up that's not necessarily in my budget, then I won't watch it. But if I'm in a good headspace and I'm maybe cleaning, and while I clean I'm watching a haul, I'm watching a Come With Me, which I really like those because then you don't necessarily have to go out to the store. You're like, well, let me type in and see what's going on at Big Lots because I haven't been in a couple weeks, or what's at Michael's because I haven't been this season. Or you can go on Instagram, but sometimes with Instagram it can be a little spotty depending on who you're following. So depending on your headspace, you may want to do that. And then you can also make a list based off of what's like at the Dollar Tree new that's on your wish list, what is at Michael's that made, or your planner list, what's out there. And then when you make that list, you kind of tell yourself, well, do I really need this? Is it something that can wait? Will it go on sale even cheaper later? Clearance, maybe. I know in my area, some people they're able to find things at a cheaper price. In my area, in the RTP triangle area, some people, I don't know, they must have bank, because they never wait to stuff go on a 90% clearance. Not in my area. So it's lucky if it gets to 60% or it's gone. Off of that, then make a list of what is it that you're looking for, what is a priority for you. Do I have a plan to use it? Do I have a plan to, with that home decor item, do I have a space to put it? And then when I bring in that space, do I need to take out 4 more pictures? So like, I know I have like 4 pictures sitting in my hallway that I just don't feel like tackling it and putting it in my car. But before I buy a new picture for another space, I need to get rid of those 4 pictures or these 4 pairs of shoes before I buy a new pair. I know for me, I don't know about y'all, but during the season it's like maybe 4 pairs of shoes, but usually it's 2 pairs of shoes that I go back and forth and wear those. And then the other ones are just sitting there. And I'm thinking, one day I'll wear them, one day I'll wear them. And what I need to tell myself, do I have a plan to wear these somewhere? And or do I have a plan to use these craft items and take something out in return and so forth? Like take it out to the Goodwill, get rid of it. If you hear Josiah, my apologies. So do that agreement. I know a lot of people are decluttering now. I know now is probably the best time. Someone made a meme about to go to the thrift store, but I gotta get rid of some stuff that I already have in order to even shop at the thrift store. So, okay guys, so can I live without it? If I can live without it, a lot of times what I tell myself is, and depending on the store, do I need this right now? Can I live without it? Is it something that I have to have, or is this like an impulse buy? A lot of times I will go back to it like a week later, weeks later, a month later, sometimes a year later. And I may feel like, you know, I had FOMO and I had the fear, you know, the fear of missing out. And I didn't get it. It was out of stock. They got it again next year. But I was patient and I ended up getting it. But it was something that was on my wish list. Sometimes, a lot of times I make a wish list. I master a wish list of things I want to do. I may have seen in the store and they have been on my wish list for some time. This is my #1 thing for me is right now in my season is remembering my goals. So my goals are that I want to travel with my family more. I want to do more activities. My goals and what I set for myself for 2019, and that really helps me to put it in perspective of what exactly I spent money on, or so I won't go spend money in this area and I'm trying to save for this thing or so forth. So that really helps me. So remembering my goals is also really helpful, and you know, not just far as like extra activities for my family, but also for like saving for their college, saving for your future, any emergencies that may come up. And that's really important. I know recently when Cottrell went off to school, there was most of his tuition was paid, but it was a certain portion that wasn't paid. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just assumed that he was going to get this certain type of funding. And when your kids are younger, you tend to think, oh, I have time, I have time, I have time. I didn't understand why maybe some kids will say that they couldn't afford to go, or they didn't have the money or something like that. And I saw that as it got closer for him to go to school, I understood. Not just closer, but I understood, because it is expensive, and if you haven't been saving up for it, it can be really pricey. And so sometimes when they are younger, or even when they're young, you think you have time. Something else comes up, your car breaks down, your fridge goes out, something always is constantly coming up, an emergency. And if you don't put that money to the side every single month, or every so often, then it will creep up on you. Like Josiah's 4, and it's easy to say, oh, I have time. But then you put it off another year and another year and another year. And then you assume that you're going to get these grants, or you assume you're going to get Pell, or you assume that you're going to get these scholarships, and it doesn't work out that way. Or your income significantly changes and you don't qualify for those things. And what do? And I was literally like sick because I really wanted my child to do something more than what I did. And so I really wanted him to go. He really wanted to go. So we had to figure it out. Yeah, the school has payment plans, but who wants to worry about that every single month? And and it's a large sum that you have to worry about. So everything did work out. I'm so grateful and thankful for that. But I don't want to have to worry about that with JJ and with Josiah. So that was a reality check for myself. So I wanted to remember my goals. So avoid my triggers. So I know there were some times that I went past. I remember one time in particular, I felt anxious. Like, ooh, all of a sudden, I was like, I haven't been to Dollar Tree in a while. I wonder what they got new. And not just Dollar Tree, but other stores. Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or whatever. I know when they had their big clearance sale. And I just felt this, not weird, well, yeah, weird anxiousness. And I'm like, I shouldn't go right now to the store. And I had to literally talk myself out of going, because I was like, do I have a plan? Is it something in particular that I'm looking for? No. So that meant that I was going to go and I was going to spend stuff, or I was going to find something to spend, and I didn't necessarily need it. And I was about to go into a whole nother tangent, but that would have been a whole nother video. Find a hobby. Find something that you like to do. Like find a project in your house that you like to do. Also find a hobby that, I understand some hobbies at first will be expensive, or they cannot be expensive. I mean, you can just work out. You can work out if you like to do that. I know my husband likes to do that. Just find something else that is constructive that that you can do instead of, maybe spending. I know also my next point is watching my mood. So how do I feel? Do I still feel empty inside? Do I still feel unhappy? I know I was getting to a point to where I was going to the store and I was maybe purchasing something, and it was something that I felt like I had to have, and mainly, well, no, it was other stores, but I remember feeling this when I left out of Michael's, and I was like, oh, did you really need that? Or, I actually felt frustrated. I was frustrated. I was kind of mad at myself. And then I was like, this is crazy, because I'm still feeling empty. And I don't want to feel this way. So it has to be, I want to figure out that underlying reason of why I feel like I needed to go in the store and spend money that day. Needed to get that item, and I didn't necessarily want it or need it at that time. So it's fine when you have a purpose of going in that store for that item or those items. It's fine if you have a project in mind to accomplish. It's fine if you want to have retail therapy that day with your mom, or with your husband, or with your girlfriends, or just with yourself. It's fine if you're not necessarily in the mood and it's in your budget. But when it gets to the point where you're unhappy and you're not figuring out, well, why am I spending this money, and I don't have the money to spend it, and I could have spent this money on a trip or put money away for my kids' college or so forth, then it's time to reevaluate some things. I know with having this type of surgery that I have with bariatric surgery, it's so easy to tell you to fall into other addictions because you're not able to maybe eat the same foods the same way. And I knew that my next trigger would be shopping or spending money. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to watch this. And a couple of times I went like total ham. And I just wanted to be more aware of what I was doing because of that. And when I became aware, then I was cautious of it, and I didn't just frivolously spend money for no reason. And I think that's why a lot of times I felt frustrated, upset about the fact that I did it. The other thing, guys, is that I wanted to, I always did, but I wanted to do it even more. I wanted to honor my husband. And when you honor your spouse, you honor God. And if I honor my husband, I know that I was honoring God. And so my husband has goals, and he has dreams, and he has some things that he wants to accomplish. And he works very hard. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't derail those things with my spending habits. I wanted to do better. I wanted to do better. And then also this brings me to the point of, I'm getting older, and I remember every point in my life. I know when I was 19 and 20, I think 19, 20, I might have been a little bit older. I remember having an epiphany in my room all of a sudden. I was really into clothes, buying clothes for Catrell, so it could be the cutest of shoes, my hair, all those things. And I remember thinking to myself, I was cleaning my room, and I remember thinking to myself, I just have a pile of clothes. What do I have to show for it other than a pile of clothes? You can't wear all the clothes at one time. And when I got that mindset, when I started thinking about that and I had that epiphany, I started changing my mindset. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even think about it like that. It's great. I feel like it's great to have those nice things. But I was just like going overboard. And then when I got to in my mid-20s, I got to the point where I was just tired of, having to lean on my parents. I was a single mom, and they helped me out a lot. I couldn't depend on anyone else but them. And I think it was like between 25 and 27, I just said, Lord, one day I want to be able to not be able to have to depend on my parents. I want to be able to do it for myself. And when I moved out and Jason and I moved in together, it was different. We were on our own. I didn't have my parents to depend on, but they were still there. So it became a point to where I'm like, I didn't have to call them, or I didn't have to ask them for this or that. And we just did it on our own. We just figured it out on our own. I think that's a learning curve for everyone, a young person. But I just had that epiphany again. Like, I just don't, not epiphany, that mindset. I don't want to have to keep depending on them. Some people don't ever get that. But, yeah. And so now, 10 years later, I want to have that same, I want to change my mindset, and I feel like things are shifting. I want to be a little bit more frugal. I know how to be frugal because I had to when we moved out, but I want to, just because things may have changed a little bit for the better, I want to continue to change it for a little bit better. So also, when I was talking about honoring my husband read this book. He reads a lot of books and podcasts and so forth. Well, no, I listen to podcasts, but he reads a lot of books and so forth. And this one he read a while ago, called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I have the Audible right now, and that's what I'm reading, Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he said, he actually asked, because the book is like on the bookshelf in the hallway. He was like, what happened to that book? And I said, oh, I'm reading it. But I have so much going on, trying to learn things. I just do stuff on Audible. It's so far because he's always been talking about investment, saving, and how to improve things. And I'm like, I would always listen. I have learned from him, and I do know some things from listening to Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey, but I just wanted to read this book because he read it, and he recommended it and so forth. I just wanted to mention that. I think that's it, guys. I'll look. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Those are the things that I do to help save money, or to help myself not spend as much money. I know that I am not perfect. I would probably want to go and probably spend something today. Like, honestly, I need to stop at Walmart and I want to see if they have the Happy Planner wellness sticker books that I've been looking for forever. But if it's within my budget and I'm not over my planner budget, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Just all in moderation, considering your goals. And guys, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget, there's always hope. Bye bye, guys. Cuz.
I don't see my face.
Yeah, I see your face.